This is the Valley of the Dry Bones. Chaim is kind enough to pass out the papers. Please don't scribble on them. I need them back. Okay, Michael, thank you. I need the papers back. Let's take a look. It's one paper with two sides. First, we're going to do the side Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, Chazon Atzomat HaYeveshot, the vision of the dry bones. We read that when? On Chol Hamoed Pesach. Why do we read that on Chol Hamoed Pesach? Why? Well, Rav Hai Goen tells us that the resurrection of the dead, one of the Ani Mamins that we believe in, that God will resurrect the dead. Meitim Yechayel Berov Chazdo. Right? That's the Ani Mamins. Thank you. If you open the window, thank you very much. So the resurrection of the dead is a cardinal belief in Judaism. When will it take place? Rav Hai Goen says that just like the final Geula will take place on Pesach, the first Geula took place on Pesach, and the final Geula will also take place on Pesach, and the resurrection of the dead will also take place on Chag HaPesach. Thank you. Will take place on Chag HaPesach. So therefore it's appropriate to read an example of resurrection of the dead that Yecheskel did 2,500 years ago, a mass resurrection of the dead, and we read it on Pesach because the resurrection of the dead will take place on Pesach. So therefore this gives us encouragement and a proof positive that the resurrection will take place. It will take place on Pesach. Who are these dead people that Yecheskel HaNavi resurrected? So let's take a look who they are. Yad Hashem. I'm reading the first pasuk. The hand of God was on me and carried me betoch habika. Vina melei atzamot. And the valley was full of dead bones. And the second pasuk, Veverani aleim saviv saviv. And God what? He made me circle above the bones. God put me in a helicopter and he made me circle above the dead bones. Why did he have to circle saviv saviv the helicopter? Because Yecheskel HaNavi is a Kohen, and a Kohen cannot what? Go near the dead. So therefore, God made him like an astronaut or in a helicopter. He circled the valley, otherwise he would become Tameh, and he's a Kohen, he's not allowed to become Tameh.
So what's this LL flying over?
Saviv, Saviv, we'll talk. And behold, the bones were very dry. They've been dead for centuries. Who were they? Well, let's see who they were. And let's go to Pasuk Vayomer Alai. I'm reading the fifth line. Vayomer Alai, and God said to me, Hinave al atzamot ha'eleh, prophesize on these bones, Amarta aleim, and say to them, Hatzamot ha'yeveshel shimu davar Hashem. You dead bones, listen up. Listen up. Kol yomer Hashem Elokim, la'atzamot ha'eleh, hine ani mevi b'chem ruach v'chitem. So God tells Yecheskel to resurrect these dead bones. What does God need Yecheskel for, right? God does everything on his own, but we see that throughout the whole Pesach story, God chooses to operate through what? Human agents. Who the human agents called? Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, right? The greatest miracles happen what? Through agents. The only exception was Makat Bechorot, where God says, Makat Bechorot, I'll do myself. But all the other miracles, including the greatest one, the splitting of the Red Sea, God chooses to do through human agents. And here, the resurrection of the dead, which the Rambam says will be the greatest of all miracles, also God chooses to do through a Navi, because God wants us to be partners in his Tikkun Olam, even though he doesn't need any partners. But to demonstrate how much God loves us, he wants us to be involved with him. So therefore, all miracles are done through what? Secret agent, man. Nevi'im. Even though God doesn't need any partners, but to demonstrate his love for us, that we should be involved in Tikkun Olam. So God tells the Navi over here, Koyam Hashem Elokim, Hina neim eschemchem ruach v'chitem. Then he says, Nasati alechem gidim, alesi alechem basa. So first God has Yecheskel construct the body. Then he says, Nebeiti kasha tzevesi, and I prophesied as God commanded me. And then there was a great Raj where all the bones come together. The bones come together, and then on top of them what? Skin and the blood vessels. First, Yecheskel, God, through the prophet Yecheskel, constructs the body again. V'ruach ein bahem, but there was no ruach in them. What does ruach mean? Spirit. There was no spirit in them. It was a dead body. Vayomer Elai, and God continues to say to me, Hinave el ruach, prophesies to the ruach. Now the word ruach means wind, and the word ruach also means what? Spirit. Why is it the same word of Yaakov in Hebrew? Because just you can't see the wind, but you can sure feel it. So the same thing with a soul. I'm a soul, man. Ruach. You can't see the soul like you can't see the wind, but you can what? Definitely feel it, because a dead body without a soul, what is it, right? So Vayomer Elai, and God says to me, Hinave el ruach. I'm reading line tet. You see there, Yaakov, underlined line tet there. Line tet, the middle of the page. No, thank you. Vayomer Elai, Hinave el ruach, prophesies to the wind or to the soul. Hinave ben Adam. And God says again, prophesies ben Adam. God calls Yecheskel a mensch, ben Adam. V'yamarti el ruach, and say to the ruach, David. Say to the wind and or say to what? The soul. Same word, right? Koyam Hashem Elokim, ba'al barucha bo ruach. From the four winds will come the soul, ufchi ba'harugim, and blow into these dead bodies. V'yichyu, and what? Staying alive. Wow. So then he says, and I did exactly as God told me. I prophesied, and after the body was reconstructed, the soul came into them. Vayamdu al ragleim, they stood on their feet. Chayil godol ma'od ma'od, a very great army. The Talmud says 200,000. 200,000. Sanhedrin 92 says that these were the dead Ephraimites who left Egypt early. They jumped the gun, and they left Egypt 30 years before the time, and they were massacred by the Palestinians, and their bodies were left to bleach in the sun for centuries until who came along? Yecheskel, and he resurrected them. So the Talmud says that what? That they were the bodies of the Shevet Ephraim. But God says something else. Hey, how could the Talmud argue with God? The Talmud says they were Shevet Ephraim. But look, Vayomer Elai, and God said to me, David, Pasuk Yud Aleph, you got to see it inside. You see that? There's a Yud Aleph there on the left side. Vayomer Elai, and God said to me, Ben Adam, Mensch, Hatzama Se'ele, who are these dead bodies? Kol Beit Yisrael Hema, they are the house of Israel. Hine Armim Yofshu Atzmoteinu, the house of Israel says, our bones are dried up. V'avda Tikvatenu, our hope is gone. Who are those dry bones? It's us after the Holocaust. We are the dry bones. Living skeletons came out of Auschwitz. You see those pictures? Living skeletons out of Auschwitz. Our hope is gone. The Jewish people, a third of our people are destroyed. We are finished. Yecheskel is speaking to us. L'chein hinove, God says, prophesies, amarta aleim, and say to them. Who is them? Us. There were millions in Nevi'im. So the Gemara Megillah. Millions. How come they were not recorded? Because they only spoke what for their time. The 48 that are recorded are speaking to us. Look at Pasuk Yud Bet, Yehuda. You see the Yud Bet there? L'chein hinove, prophesies, amarta aleim, and say to them, Kol yomar Hashem Elokim, thus says the Lord God, Hine, wow, Ani poiteach at kivrotechem, I open up your graves, Va'aleiti eschem mikivrotechem, and I bring you up from your graves, Ami, my people. Ve'veiti eschem el admas Yisrael, and I bring you what? To the Holy Land. This is the generation after Auschwitz. The living skeletons, please, who walked out of the crematory alive, thousands who survived. You see the pictures. Living skeletons, and God brought them to Eretz Yisrael. And they came here, and they gave them a rifle. They didn't know which end is up. They didn't know which end is up. And they won the war. The greatest of all miracles was this, not the 6-day war, Mechemet HaShichrur. You had the mighty Arab armies. Who are the fighters here? Living skeletons that Yecheskel is talking about. Look at Pasuk, the next one. Yidatam keni Hashem, you should know that I am God. B'pitchi et kivrotechem, when I open up your graves, b'loisi etchem mikivrotechem ami, and I bring you up from your graves, my people. V'natati ruchi b'chem, and I will give what? My spirit in you. B'chem is you. V'chiyitam, you will live. This is the state of Israel, Gershom, 3 years after a third of our people were incinerated. To rise like a phoenix? How is that possible? Because Yecheskel already prophesied it 2,500 years ago. V'inachti eschem al admatchem, and I will make you, place you in your own land. V'yedatem keni Hashem, debarti, I, God, have spoken it. V'asiti num Hashem, and I've done it. When has he done it? 25 years ago he done it. Now he done it. We are, these dead bones come to life. And we read it on Pesach, because on Pesach we were redeemed, and on Pesach we're destined to be redeemed, and on Pesach the resurrection of the dead will take place, says Rabbi Gaon. So therefore, Veveti Eschem, right? So this is a prophecy of the Mechemet HaShichrur, who had a friend of mine, Akiva Besser, who fought in that war. 8 miracles. They gave them a rifle, didn't know which end is up. They had nothing, a World War I rifle. The Arabs had tanks and they had planes. What did we have? Sewer pipes. Sewer pipes and seltzer bottles. My dear friend Akiva Besser was an eyewitness, fighting tanks and planes with seltzer bottles and sewer pipes. They planted the sewer pipes in the mountains, and it looked like what? Artillery. So the Jordanian tanks turned around. And then they had this biplane. That was the Israeli Air Force, one biplane with seltzer bottles. A seltzer bottle, when you throw it down, it whistles on the way down. Whee! And then it explodes. So the tanks, the Jordanian tanks, they thought they're being bombed. They skedaddled. Nissim in the float. These are these living skeletons that Hashem took out of the Holocaust, brought them here, and breathed a new life into them. David, I'm excited. We are living this prophecy. 3 years after the Holocaust, the Middle East, we are the jewel, the envy of the entire world. We're a leader in high tech, in medicine, in every field. That's why we're so hated. We are these Atzamat Yeveshos. Come back. We are living this holy prophecy. Now, so again, the Talmud says that it was the 200,000 Ephraimites. Okay, again, you see, this prophecy is taken on 2 levels. The Machlokes in the Sanhedrin 92, was this a physical resurrection, or was this what? In a dream, in a mashal, in a chazon. So, we know when 2 Tanoim disagree, so, when God says this is the house of Israel, speaking about us, that's the part that took place in a vision. But when the Talmud says it was the dead Ephraimites, it's speaking about a physical resurrection as well. When there are 2 opinions in the Talmud, okay? They're both correct. It took place in a dream, in a vision, and that's speaking about us, our time, but also took place in the physical sense, where the 200,000 Ephraimites who were resurrected by Yecheskel, and we read it on Pesach, because Pesach will be the time of what? Of the final resurrection. And the final Geula, according to Rav Hai Gaon, so it's appropriate to read this Haftorah on Pesach, right? And here you have a mass resurrection of the dead. Now, we see that all miracles God does through Nevi'im. Vayomer Elai, Ben Adam, over and over again, God says, speak to these dead bones. We see it was a 2-part resurrection. First, God told him to construct the body. Yes, Yehuda? And then God said to bring the soul. Why is it that way? It parallels the creation of the Adam. It says in Genesis 1, Yehuda, first God created the physical Adam, and then he breathed into him the godly soul. So the resurrection will follow that pattern, as we see here. God told Yecheskel, copy my work. I first made Adam physically, Genesis 1. The body was reconstructed, constructed, and then God breathed into him what? The godly soul. So the creation of man was done in 2 stages. So the recreation of man, David, will also take place, what? In the 2 stages. Therefore, God told Yecheskel first to construct the body, and then what? The Ruach. Copy the boss. V'alachta v'drachav. Mahu afata. Says of Aryeh Kaplan, Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha. Wow, fasten your seatbelt for this. The Zohar says that right before Mashiach comes, Moshe, there'll be an incredible explosion of scientific wonders. The Zohar 2,000 years ago said that right before Mashiach comes, there'll be marvelous scientific wonders that you couldn't dream about. Says of Aryeh Kaplan, what is the Zohar talking about? Well, I think he's talking about cloning, said the Aryeh Kaplan. You know, the Talmud Sanhedrin says that even when the body decomposes and turns to dust, the loose bone remains indestructible. Why? Aryeh Kaplan says that the loose bone contains the entire DNA of a human being. DNA, divine natural ability. Divine natural ability, here. So Moshiach will utilize cloning to reconstruct what? The body. Allah Yecheskel. We already have a pattern to reconstruct the body using cloning, and then God will breathe in what? The soul. Don't you see? Isn't that incredible? Wow. So, Tchiyat HaMesim, all Mishim are done through Nevi'im. All the Makot in Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, and here, through the Navi Yecheskel, and again through the Navi Moshiach, perhaps Mashiach will use cloning to reconstruct what? The body, because the loose contains, later, the DNA. Okay, so Yecheskel did it. Now, it's interesting that the Rambam says that resurrection of the dead is the greatest of all miracles. The greatest. It's mind-boggling. A dead body totally decomposed, and you make a human being out of it? Well, according to the Zohar, it's already built into nature. There's a pasuk in Yeshayahu Mem Aleph. Al tiri tolat Yaakov. Don't fear, you caterpillar Yaakov. Metei Yisrael, those that are dead in Israel. Ani azartich nim Hashem. I will help you, says Lord God. Isaiah 41. God calls us not the mighty Russian bear, the American eagle. God calls us toilat, a caterpillar. Why does God call us a caterpillar? Says Isaiah, because the secret of Tchiyat HaMesim is contained. The caterpillar crawls into a cocoon. What's the cocoon? It's a tomb. It decomposes there, and out comes a butterfly. Ooh. Says the Zohar, will God do less for a human being? If that's why God calls us Toilat Yaakov, Isaiah 41. And King David in Tehillim 22 calls us Toilas, caterpillar. Don't be afraid, you dead of Israel. Ani azatich num Hashem, I, God, will help you. How will I help you? By bringing you back from the grave. Too fantastic? Well, why is it more fantastic, David, than what? Than a caterpillar in a cocoon. It decomposes there. I hope to see you tomorrow in the yeshiva. It decomposes there, and out comes a butterfly. Will God do less for a human being when the time comes? No way, Jose. Therefore, God calls us Toilat Yaakov, Isaiah 41 and Tehillim 22. The secret is in that. Now, do we have the power to resurrect the dead? Ooh, I think I'll demonstrate, but do we have the power to resurrect the dead? If you turn the paper upside down, the other side, there's an amazing Gemara, and please don't write on it, I need the papers back. If you turn the paper upside down, Avodah Zarah 10b. You with me on this? Avodah Zarah 10b. You see that Gemara? I think I have it highlighted. I think so, yes? I do, good. Yeah. Avodah Zarah 10b. Antoninus had a cave which led from his house to the house of Rabbi. Mark Anthony, every time he visited Rabbi, he brought 2 slaves. He saw Rabbi on the sly. It wouldn't be too helpful that the Roman emperor would meet with his rabbi, so he hid. He had a secret tunnel where he visited Rabbi, and he brought with him 2 slaves, one of whom he killed at the door of Rabbi's house, and the other who he had left behind was killed at the door of his own house. Why did he do that? Footnote 4. Why would he kill them, Yehuda? Why? The visit should not be reported. But killing is against the Noahide religion. See footnote 4?
Why did
There shouldn't be a report on him. He had to answer to the Senate. It wouldn't be too healthy that the Roman emperor goes and what? And he has meetings with a great rabbi. Why would he take the slaves? I get protection, I guess.
He didn't want to go by himself.
I want to go by myself. We're too suspicious. He needed... but you're not allowed to commit murder, Noahide religion. Keep the 7, go to heaven. So look at footnote 4. Yehuda Tosfos suggests that the slaves employed for that purpose were what? Traitors. So therefore he had a right to what? To kill them, right? Strange Gemara. Back in the text now.
Where's the footnote?
The footnote 4. I think it's footnote 4, right? Footnote 4 on the right side. You see that? On the right side. So anyway, back in the text now. 17 is to Rabbi. When I call, let none be found with you. Don't let the cat out of the bag. It's our little secret that we're having these powwows, right? One day he found Rabbi Chanina sitting there. So one day when he came to visit Rabbi, there was someone there. Uh-oh, the cat's out of the bag. So he said to Rabbi, did I not tell you that no man should be found with you at the time when I call? I don't want our little secret to be exposed, right? And we'll get back to the Roman Senate, not too healthy. Rabbi replied, this is not an ordinary human being. He won't snitch. He'll keep our secret. Your secret is safe with Rabbi Chanina, right? Then said Anthony, let him tell that servant who was sleeping outside the door to rise and come in. Sleeping means what? He's dead. He said he's a great man. I want to see how great he is. Rabbi Chanina thereupon found that the guy is what? Dead. So he said, thought he, you have it? How shall I act now? Shall I call and say that the man is dead? But one is not allowed to bring a bad report. Shall I leave him and walk away? That will be slighting the king. So he prayed for mercy, and the dead guard was what? Brought back to life. Say what? He pulled a Yecheskel. Ooh. So he then sent him in. Said Antoninus, hey, what are you doing here? I thought I killed you. What did Antoninus say, Yehuda?
Well, at least one among you can bring the dead back to life. So if the least can do it, imagine what the most can do.
What? I'm well aware that at least one among you can bring the dead back to life. Still, when I call, let no one be found with you. Very strange Gemara to say the least, that the least one among us can bring the dead back to life. What does that mean? Interesting. We make a bracha, Baruch Atu Hashem Mechaya HaMeitim. Is that proper digduk, Gershom? What does Mechaya HaMeitim mean? God resurrects the dead now. But proper digduk would be Baruch Atu Hashem Lahachayot Meitim. Because he didn't do it yet. And yet we make the bracha Mechaya HaMeitim in the present. Mechaya. Why in the present? The Talmud says in brachot, Rishoyim af b'chayeyem kruyim meitim. The wicked, even when they're alive, are what? There's a lot of walking zombies out there. Al yedei tshuva, when a person does tshuva, he's mechayet atzmo. Baruch Atu Hashem mechaya hameitim. Not lachayot meitim. Now, because when a person does an avera, he becomes night of the living dead. Spiritually dead, a zombie. When he does tshuva, what's he doing? He's mechaya himself. So mechaya hameitim. Through the power of tshuva, all Jews can what? Can what? Resurrect themselves, says the Ramchal. Oh, says the Ramchal. And the Maharal. You listening to this? Yes. So again, the Ramchal and the Maharal say as follows, that this is an Agadah Gemara not to be taken literally. The least among you can bring the dead back to life. Remember, the two parts of the Talmud, the Ramban says that only the halachic part of the Talmud must be taken literally, but the Agadah part of the Talmud, like this is, are not to be taken literally. Based on this Ramban, says the Ramchal and the Maharal, that this Gemara is an allegory. The least among you can bring the dead back to life. What does that mean? Well, again, we say, A person that's a rasha is night of the living dead. When he does tshuva, he's mechaya meitim achshav, not la'atid. Therefore, we make the bracha, Baruch Ato Hashem, mechaya meitim. But this idea goes further. Please hold the questions, because there's a lot to do. We can take later. Agadah Gemara Yehuda is not to be taken literally. There are many examples of this, right? Many examples of this. The Talmud tells us in Mayat Katan 18, Paroi was only 1 amma tall. Gershom. But the movie, that part the movie got right. Yul Brenner wasn't no midget. Wait a minute, didn't the Cecil B. DeMille consult the Talmud Mayat Katan 18 that Pharaoh of the Exodus was only 1 amma tall? What is 1 amma tall? 2 feet tall. Really? Come on, says the Maral and the Ramchal. Physically, he was as tall as Yul Brenner. But in the Olam HaElyon, according to his spiritual stature, he was only 1 amma tall. You see, I got to take Gemara Yehuda. In the physical world, he was as tall as Yul Brenner was. But in the spiritual world, he was a mental midget. I think it's called in Hebrew. A mental midget, 1 amma tall. But in this world, you can have what? A mental midget, and he can play in the NBA. Right? He's a mental midget, but he plays in the NBA. Spiritual giants. The Chafetz Chaim was a spiritual giant, but how tall was he? I think 5 feet. So the Gemara means Paroi. According to his spiritual stature, he should have been what? 1 amma tall. But in the physical world, he was a normal size. The Talmud says Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 ammas tall. Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 ammas tall. He could play in the NBA, 20 feet tall. Get real. First of all, says the Marsha, that's a mum. If a Kohen is too tall, he's posel avoda. Remember, the first 7 days when the Mishkan was inaugurated, who acted as the high priest? Moshe. But if he was really that tall, he would be posel avoda, says the Marsha. Doesn't mean he was 10 ammas tall. But even in English, we say about a guy, he's 10 feet tall. Don't we say that in English? Do we mean it? So Marsha says, since he gave us the 10 commandments, he appeared in our eyes as if he would be what? 10 ammas tall. His spiritual stature, he was a normal height, Moshe Rabbeinu. In the physical world, Moshe and Pharaoh were what, Rabbi Yaakov? The same height. But according to their spiritual thermometer, Pharaoh should have been 1 foot tall, and Moshe Rabbeinu should have been what? 10 ammas tall in their spiritual stature. Shaul
was tall too.
Nachon, right? So, what are we saying over here? What are we saying over here? Right? It says in Rosh Hashanah, the Sifrei Chaim v'Sifrei Meitim are opened up. What do you mean the Sifrei Chaim v'Sifrei Meitim? The book of the living and the book of the dead are opened in Rosh Hashanah. So Maral says, wait a minute. Why did the book of the dead have to be opened? For 1 second, please. What do you mean the book of the dead have to be opened? Sifrei Chaim, I understand. The Sifrei Chaim are opened up to be judged. But why are the Sifrei Mesim opened up? They're dead already. It's over. Says the Maral. No, the Sifrei Mesim here, we're talking not about the physically dead. They're spiritually dead. The walking dead. Sifrei Chaim is Sifrei Meitim. Physically, they're walking around. But their neshamas lo yaleinu, they're a zombie. So they're also judged on Rosh Hashanah, because physically they're what? They're alive, so they have to be judged. But never the neshama is what? Comatose? Wow. Their ability to discern between right and wrong, says the Maral, that's dead. Their conscience is gone. They're spiritually dead. His life is empty. All he has is the internet and the iPhone, right? And more high-tech toys. He's Sifrei Mesim. But in the physical world, Gershom, he's still breathing and eating, right? Wow. So the Maral says, our Gemara again, Avodah Zarah 10. Did Anthony really kill his guard physically? No. He didn't kill him. He wasn't a murderer. Doesn't agree with Tosfot, right? Tosfot says yes. He says, the Maral says, no, he didn't kill him physically. Anthony was able to kill his Neshama Elyonah. He put the guy down so much. He humiliated him. Humiliate someone, it's like what, Gershon? You spill his blood. He took away his will to live. The emperor humiliated his slave so much as if he what? Killed him, but not physically. The rabbi was able to restore his Neshama Elyonah. You hear? Anthony was afraid that the guard was going to betray him, right? To inform on him to Rome. Maral says, how did Anthony protect himself, Rabbi Yaakov? If you take away a person's self-confidence, his will to achieve, his drive in life, his uniqueness, what makes him special, you take it away from him, he won't have the resolve to go inform on Anthony. He took away his lust for life. He put him down so much he will have no cheshik to do anything, let alone go and inform on the emperor. You hear? He took away, says Maral, is simchat achayim. How do you translate that? Simchat achayim. To compete, to want to achieve, to make a difference, to progress, to want to be with his friends and family, to be proud of him. He tore down his confidence, so he will have no longer any desire, Gershom, to go snitch and inform. What happened? But he had to protect himself. Because if the Roman Senate would find out that he is powwowing with a rabbi, it wouldn't be too healthy for Anthony, right? Right? Wouldn't be, right? So Anthony said, the lowest Jew, Maral learns this Gemara. When Anthony meant, the lowest Jew has the ability to restore life, not physical life, but the simchas achayim to one who is affected by a loss of conscience, a loss of direction in life, a loss of knowing what's really important in life. Many people are so fablungit. They think life is the iPhone or the internet. They're halal inside. What does the word halal mean? They're hollow. They're walking zombies. They're hollow inside. Another high-tech toy, right? They're always searching for something because they're halal inside. A dead body in Hebrew is called what? Halal. Our job is to give people direction and meaning and purpose to life. There's a purpose to life beyond the internet. What did we give the world? A conscience. That's why Hitler said in Mein Kampf, the Jew must be destroyed. Because the Jew gave the world a conscience, direction in life. There is a purpose to life. The idea of morality, we are the Or LaGoyim. That's why the Jew is so hated and despised. So, the Vilna Gaon says, therefore the word Chaim is always what? Rabbi Yaakov, in the plural. The word Chaim is in the plural, always. Where is Chaim? Your name is always in the plural, because there's a physical life, but there's also what? A spiritual life. Right, the heart beats, a person breathes, the brain works, he's physically alive. But spiritually, he's night of the living dead. We say, Kosveinu b'sefer hachayim, lemancha lehim chayim. Not just physical life, Yehuda. An animal also has physical life. We want to be alive spiritually, Gershom. Staying alive, right? Like Hashem. Right? Give us physical life, but also give us what? Spiritual life, to fulfill our mission in life. A spiritual person who does mitzvot, that person is alive. He's alive in the sense that God is alive. Not just in the physical sense, but what? Yehuda, in the spiritual sense. A higher level than just being physically alive. The Nishmat Chayim that God breathed into us, the Nishmat Chayim, was not just physical life. Therefore the word Chayim is what? Plural. He also breathed into us the spiritual life, which is eternal. We have the ability to be Mechayim Eitim. Not in the physical sense, but something more important. To give ourselves and others the Simchas HaChayim, the joy to be alive in the spiritual sense, to be excited. I'm so excited about Judaism, about studying Torah. Simchas HaChayim, the will to accomplish, to achieve, to grow spiritually. Many people, they're so depressed, they run out of gas. There's no energy, no koach. But if someone says a right word to you at the right time, he can change your life. Sometimes just a smile at the right time. Give someone chizuk, a kind word, encouragement. Praise a person, his self-esteem. Raises a person out of the doldrums. Restores your neshama elyona, not just your neshama tachtona. Lift up a person. Person is not focused, he's depressed. Give him chizuk and courage. Be kind to him. Build up his confidence. You give him that spiritual energy to grow, to progress. You recharge his neshama elyona, says the Ben Ish Chai in the Maral. The neshama tachtona that keeps us alive physically, but there's also neshama elyona that needs constant what? Rejuvenation. Get it? Rejuvenate. Neshama elyona. The spiritual life. So we can restore, says the Maral and the Ben Ish Chai, the neshama elyona to others by complimenting others, giving a kind word, well done, encouragement. We recharge and rejuvenate, Gershom, the neshama elyona. But when you put someone down, when you knock someone, humiliate him, you're taking away his neshama elyona. He might be alive physically, but therefore the Talmud says when you embarrass someone, it's like you spill his blood. You are destroying his neshama elyona, even though physically he's what? Still walking around. Right? Therefore the Mishnah says, Amalvam lechaver barabim, kilu shoifech damim. Kilu shoifech damim. Right? You're taking away his neshama elyona. And that's what Anthony did to these guards. Put them down so deep in the hole that they would have no incentive to do anything, let alone and go what? Inform on him. So Anthony says, I know even the lowest Jew has this power to be mechazek through a kind word, a smile, to give a person back his neshama elyona. The will, the desire to achieve, to grow, to progress spiritually. Right. Become special. The Kotzker Rebbe, they told the Kotzker Rebbe that this other great Rebbe was able to be Mechayim Mesim. Rebbe, can you do that? The Hasidim from another Rebbe went to the Kotzker Rebbe and they said, Rebbe, your competitor is able to be Mechayim Mesim. So the Rebbe says, that's no trick. Mechayim Mesim. I have a bigger trick. To be Mechayah Dechayim. Can he do that? I can be Mechayah Dechayim, says the Kotzker Rebbe. Right? To rejuvenate his neshama elyona. The concept of conscience, to bring it out the best in a person, to make us feel special and unique. The Kotzker Rebbe could do that. That's a greater trick than being Mechayah Mesim, to be Mechayah Dechayim. A kind word said at the right time can change a person's life. Right? A smile. It's incredible. Ushmartem et hamatzot. Beautiful. Mitzvah shabol yotcha al tachmitzena. A mitzvah that comes to your hand, don't let it go stale. Which mitzvah are we talking about? Ushmartem et hamatzot. So Rashi said, mitzvah shebol yotcha al tach mitzena. A mitzvah that comes to your hand, that's always there, don't ignore it. Which mitzvah are we talking about? Says Rapam Zatzal, my Rebbe. In the Birchot Kohanim, there's a pasuk, Yor Hashem ponav alecha v'chineka. Let God shine His face on you. The Kohanim say every morning. Says Rashi, God shows you ponim sachakot. God shows you a smiley, put on a happy face. That's what it says. Rashi says in Parshas Nasai, Yu Hashem ponav alecha v'chineka. May God shine His face to you. Says Rashi, ponim sachakot. God shows you a smiley face. There's a mitzvah alachta bedrachav. Mahu afata. Every time you smile on a fellow human being, and you show him a happy face, what mitzvah are you doing? V'alachta bedrachav, ma'hu afata. That's a mitzvah shebal yotcha, says my Rebbe. It comes to your hand, you don't even realize it. Instead of showing a frown, some people, they can't smile, they're like constipated. You show a happy face, you are acting godlike. V'alachta bedrachav. That's the neshama elyonah. That's the unique power of a Jew, to say a kind, good word with a smile. You're giving the person back his neshama elyonah. You're recharging his spiritual battery. So we can resurrect the dead. First of all, by doing tshuva ourselves. Rishoyim af b'chayeyim kruyim meitim. Right? And also by giving a kind, good word to someone else, we're mechayim esim them as well. The thing is, we just have to go for it. Nachon? We just have to go for it. Now, resurrection of the dead is the greatest miracle of all. The Rambam said it's the greatest miracle of all, and we believe in a physical resurrection, and the answer is the talat, the butterfly, right? Now, why is it so important to believe in a physical resurrection? It's one of the ani mamins. In fact, it's the most important one. How do I know? Achron chaviv. Meitim yechaya el barov chazdo. It's the last of the ikra of Yahadut. So we know it's achron chaviv. Why is it so important to believe in a physical resurrection? We know this world is only a door. This world is only a corridor. Prepare yourself in the lobby to enter the traklin. You're only warming up in this world. The Ikka world is what? Olam haba, right? When the neshama gets to groove with God, right? So why will there have to be a physical resurrection? Why is that so important in Yahadut? That the dead body will also be resurrected and reunited, and it feels so good. But the ultimate greatest state is Olam haba, the greatest pleasure. Well, the answer is found in the Mishnah, please, Perik Dalet, in the Mishnah Avot. The Mishnah says, Yafa sha'achat b'tshuva ma'asim tovim b'olam hazeh. 1 hour of doing mitzvos in this world is more beautiful than kol chai olam haba. Is more beautiful than the entire afterlife. Even though the pleasure in the afterlife is indescribable, we can't even imagine the great pleasure that the neshama has when it reunites with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, the death of a tzaddik is called hilula. What does hilula mean in Aramaic? It means a wedding. When a tzaddik dies, he gets to marry the boss. Ultimate ecstasy. So why will there have to be a physical resurrection? Why? Well, the Vilna Gaon on his deathbed was crying bitter tears. And the Talmidim asked the Rebbe, why are you crying? You'll be reunited with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, yes. But I won't be able to put on tefillin. I won't be able to wear tzitzis. I won't be able to be intimate with my wife. The first mitzvah in the Torah. Pruvu. I won't be able to do that where I'm going. Because for that you need what? A body. A body. A soul cannot put on tefillin. A soul cannot wear tzitzis. A soul cannot make love to his spouse, which is the first mitzvah in the Torah, pruvu. We forget that. So therefore, there has to be what? a physical resurrection. Because Bila Hamoves Lo Netzach, that when the resurrection comes, death will be swallowed up forever. Bila Hamoves Lo Netzach. God tells the prophet Isaiah. Wow. So therefore, there has to be a physical resurrection as well. Right? Yes. What? Because women also have to do mitzvot. That's right. Who the men are going to make love to? Huh? That's right. You need a body. Right? Can a neshama blow shofar? Can the neshama light Friday night candles, Gershom? No. Only a body can light candles Friday night and enjoy delicious cholent and chopped liver. Who said that? Chopped liver. So therefore, there has to be a physical resurrection. Don't you see? Wow. And the secret is the talat. Don't be afraid, you dead of Israel. Isaiah 41. Wow. So and the physical resurrection will take place according to Rabbi Goen when? Pesach. So therefore, we read this prophecy on Pesach because this tunes us in. This tunes us in to what? To the resurrection. But it'll be the Haftorah for Shabbos Chalamoid. Right? For Shabbos Chalamoid. Now, remember the dead Ephraimites. Sanhedrin 92 says, in the spiritual sense, it's speaking to us, right? In the physical sense, it's the dead Ephraimites who left early, right? Sanhedrin 92. 200,000 of them were killed out by the Plishtim. And Yecheskel resurrected them centuries later. So another reason why we read this on Pesach, Gershom, because when the Ephraimites left, that was a failed exodus. Wasn't that a failed exodus? So we read this on Pesach because Pesach was the real exodus. They left early. They miscalculated, didn't wait for Moshe Rabbeinu. They left early, and their revival was a culmination of what? Yehuda? Of the Exodus. So therefore it's very appropriate that we read this on Pesach, but their story is proof that there is going to be what? A physical resurrection. Their story is proof. A mass resurrection. So again, it's speaking on two levels. It's speaking to us on one level, and it's speaking about the physical resurrection on another level. But you see how it's mamish speaking to our own time of all of these great miracles that we live to see it. And Rav Kook takes it a step further. You have the physical resurrection. Well, you have God first created the body, and then he created the soul. Right, Mr. Heinowitz? And Yecheskel did the same thing through God, of course. He's God's agent. God doesn't need any agents, but he operates in this world through agents because this world is a partnership. First, God had Yecheskel construct the body, and then he breathed the soul. Rav Kook says that's how Mashiach will come. You hear? Rav Kook said that the final redemption will be like the valley of the dead bones. First, there's going to be a physical revival in Israel, Tel Aviv and Netanya and Pisgat Zev with the light rail. First, there's going to be a physical revival, like first the body came together, Yecheskel, and then there'll be a spiritual revival. Geula, said Rav Kook, is a process. It's a process. This is the nevuah for our time. We had the physical revival of the land of Israel physically, the envy of the whole world, high-tech medicine and military, you name it. That's why we so hate it. And now we have the spiritual revival, the Asper Yeshiva, Mochen Roni, OU Israel Center, right? So you have, says Rav Kook, it's going according to the game plan. We are living this prophecy in two stages, the physical revival of Israel, the spiritual revival. The process is well on the road. But there are many setbacks. Abu Mamzer, the Balkari, the abomination. There are many setbacks. Said Rav Kook, don't be discouraged. The Zohar says that the final redemption will follow the roadmap of the first redemption. The first redemption, Shirley, you remember the first redemption? You were there. All the neshamas were there. We were all there. There were many setbacks. Right? We left Cairo, marching towards Eretz Yisrael. What happened? Chet Egel, Meraglim, Korach, wild Moabite women. Many setbacks. But in the end, we got to Pisgat Zev. Says Rav Kook, the tzaddik. This is what the Zohar means, that the final redemption will be the same way. We have Eretz Yisrael. We're here. There are many setbacks, but don't let it discourage you. There are many Dosam Avirams today. They're called J Street and Peace Now. Rav Kook said, Dosam Aviram, why give them such prominence? Because the Dosam Aviram, Rav Soloveitchik said it too, the Dosam Aviram syndrome is very much alive today. They couldn't stop the first Gula, the Dosam Aviram, and the J Street and the modern Dosam Avirams will not be able to stop what? Final either. We have to know they're there, but don't be discouraged. It's going to happen. How do we know? We have the roadmap, Rabbi Yaakov, not the road trap. We have the roadmap. The roadmap will follow the first redemption in Egypt with the many setbacks and discouragement. Egel, Korach, Meraglim, 10. God says 10, actually 42 steps, back and forth. But eventually we got there. So the Zohar says that the final Gula will also be this way. Don't be discouraged, despite the Dosam, the Avirams of today. What do they call Peace Now? And the Aretz newspaper. We're going to get there. It's unbelievable. Zechariah says that Mashiach will come. Zechariah, Rochev ala Chamor. Mashiach will come, Zechariah says. I would say a Volvo. At least what? A Peugeot. Mashiach will come ala Chamor. Gershom, get real. Remember, prophets, the only prophet that did not speak in allegory was Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rambam said that. All prophets besides Moses spoke in. That's what made Moses unique. What does Zechariah mean? Mashiach will come ala Chamor. What does a Chamor mean? Chamor means, yes, good. He'll ride on the internet. He'll use the iPhone and the internet to teach the world, right? Yes, I like that. Chomer. He will utilize all of these high-tech gadgets to teach the world. Okay? Another pshat is, you ever see a chamor, Gershom? On Mount Zion we see many. I don't know who's riding whom. You have one chamor on top of another. Holy Mount Zion. We have a lot of chamorim, one riding the other. You see the chamor will go forward, stop, he'll go backwards. He'll go forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. But eventually, he gets there. So Zechariah says, Mashiach will come like a chamor. Doesn't mean literally. Probably you'll have a Cadillac. Mercedes. Mashiach will come like a chamor. The process won't be straight, Michael. It's like a donkey. Forwards, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's a chamor. But eventually, he gets there. Don't despair, hang in there. Look at the chamor. You got to come to Mount Zion, and you'll see the chamor riding a chamor. Don't you see, Rav Yaakov? What? What? The chamor. So that's what the Zechariah means. We still have a few moments. Any questions? Now, fire away. I'm all ears. Yes?
Why the Ephraimites, they left 30 years.
They miscalculated.
How did they get out?
They broke out. I know they broke out. It's a good question. You look Sanhedrin 92, how they broke out. The Ephraimites. I come from Yisachar, but anyway, they were Giborim. Remember Spartacus? Yes. There's a precedent for that, Mr. Heinowitz. They broke out. But they got massacred. Look in Divrei Hayamim. And he brought them back. Yecheskel Hanavi brought them back. And Saviv, because he can't what? He had to be in a helicopter, David, because a Kohen, Gershom was a Kohen, Yecheskel, he couldn't be in the dead bodies. So it says in Pasuk 2 that God Saviv Saviv. He couldn't land. Oh, he couldn't land.
What about the El Al when they're flying?
Oh, so you have to show El Al this Pasuk.
Yeah, right.
Rashi says Saviv Saviv. Sharon, amazing Rashi on this Pasuk. He was a Kohen, he couldn't land, so God had him circle. Helicopter or what? So Rashi would hold that El Al could fly over. Don't you see? Don't confuse me with the facts. I don't know, but anyway. What? I don't know. I don't know what the El Al problem is, but here, Saviv, Saviv, look in Rashi there. Yecheskel 37, Pasuk 1 in Rashi. Why Saviv, Saviv? He was circling, right? Yeah. Yeah. You have the next question, but can make it short, please. Fire away. Not be reincarnated. Don't mix up reincarnation with the resurrection. That's a whole separate topic. Resurrection of the dead has nothing to do with reincarnation. Reincarnation with the soul comes back. Here we're talking where the body at the end of time will be resurrected. It's two separate. They brought his bones. But Joseph, his bones are waiting to be resurrected with the bones of all dead people. Daniel chapter 12 says that there'll be a physical resurrection, okay? And before you get Daniel chapter 12, there's a pasuk in Deuteronomy 32, Ani Amit. God says, I put to death, v'achayeh, and I bring back to life. Deuteronomy 32, God says, Ani Amit, I put to death, v'achayeh, and I bring back to life. V'chatzti, I make sick, v'ani erpa, and I cure. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin makes an amazing comment. Maybe it's two different people. I put someone to death, and I bring someone else to life. So the Talmud says, look at the context of the pasuk in Devarim Lamed Bet. I make sick, and I heal. Does a healthy person need what? No. So obviously talk about the same guy. Mechatzti, I make sick, and I heal. That's the same guy. So the context, Ani Amit V'chayeh, is also speaking about what? The same person? Just like the one that's sick, I cure you, that's the same guy. So I put to death and I bring back to life. The context is speaking about what? A physical resurrection. As it says, I make sick and I cure, so I put to death and I bring back to life. This is the clearest pasuk in the Torah, Deuteronomy 32, pasuk 39, that there'll be a physical resurrection. Wow. Interesting Gemara based on this. Yes? In Sanhedrin also Psachim. Yes, fire away.
Here they say, "Ani mevi bachem ruach shenitem."
Nachon?
That means like a skeleton walking.
The-
And after he said, "V'natati alechem gidim."
Right.
So first he give ruach, and after the gidim.
No. 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 Which pasuk you're talking about?
In Hazon Ha'atzamot HaYidashot.
Yeah, I know, but which pasuk, right? Which pasuk? Pasuk Tet, Yud Aleph, Yud Bet on the side there. You see that? Tet, yeah.
Ani mevi bachem ruach.
Right. I'm going to, but I'm not doing it yet.
V'achar kach avi,
No, I will bring a ruach, but first the body has to be constructed, and then I will bring the ruach. That's something in the future. Like the state of Israel. First the physical state has to be constructed, and then what? The spiritual Eretz Yisrael. And we're living it. We are, Baruch Hashem, living it. Any other questions? Yes? What? The next class is after Pesach. You have to check with Phil, but after Pesach. Yes, fire away, quickly.
I heard there were experimentations maybe about 10 years with woolly mammoths and trying to clone them and breed them with elephants.
I don't know. But anyway, I don't know about that, but Rav Aryeh Kaplan said that Mashiach will utilize cloning. Remember, the Luz has the entire DNA of a human being. Wow. So the Zohar says that the scientific wonders will happen right before Mashiach comes, because Rav Aryeh Kaplan says, because Mashiach will utilize these scientific wonders to what? To unite the world. To unite the world. Oh, dry bones. Oh. I don't know the song. No, I don't know the song, Rivka. I'm sorry. I don't know those. That's one I don't know. Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Chag kosher v'sameach. A kosher and Pesach. Chag sameach.